Hello, everyone. The Irrational Skeptic here, and today I'm going to be doing a video on ENFPs. First, I'd like to thank another YouTuber, Enid F. Patterson. I will put her in the description below, who allowed me to have some of these ideas and who I've enjoyed conversing with in a comment thread from a video that I earlier spoke on. Um, Yeah, and I reasoned a lot of these things after speaking with her. As the title of the video says, it asks, what do ENFPs do best? And I'm going to be basing this on that title. I also will say that I do expect people to have some knowledge of the MBTI, so I'm not going to be going through their functions, so to say. I might give a few um, inklings here and there or notations, but I'm not doing an in-depth um, analysis of the functional stack. So, what do ENFPs do best? ENFPs are in touch with a realm that many only see expressed in movies and music. They are very imaginative and have deep insight into the human condition. They usually try to encourage those who have been neglected and forgotten by society. They're very good at uplifting the mood of others and try their best to remain authentic. There's usually a tug of war going on between doing what makes intuitive sense and doing the right thing. This causes them to build up an ethic that is battle tested by reality. They can challenge others and debate them in order to get to the root of people's individuality. The thing that ENFPs know is that most intellectuals, quote unquote, try to battle from a dispassionate point of view. ENFPs are able to root out fundamental inconsistencies based on a pragmatic approach to life. An example is there is a child suffering and ill with a certain disease. If this were anyone else's child, meaning any human being, they would certainly want all the help they could get in order to alleviate the problem. An NT, or many thinking types, may be more apt to say, well, bad things happen, deal with it. This is not just NTs, by the way. I'll also add STs. So this can be typical of STJs, STPs, NTPs, and TJs. I find this typical, and yeah. So going on, the ENFP, on the other hand, brings a very important challenge to this position. They would ask, quotes, okay, what if we were all to adopt this position? What if we were all to act as if kindness didn't matter because bad things happen? When taken to the extreme, we see how your worldview makes no sense. A society could not exist on such principles because there would be nothing attractive about such a system. End quote. And this is just an example of the kind of abstract notions the ENFP deals with when trying to navigate society. They are very powerful, empathetic individuals. So, yeah, that is just a little thing I uh, wrote down while thinking about ENFPs and how they kind of operate within society, and how a lot of people might just push them off to the side as maybe crybabies, which in fact it is not the case, although it does include that. I won't lie, it does include that aspect, but it's more deeply rooted in some very deep thought that goes into these problems, which they find fundamentally wrong with society. So it is not usually the fact that they just see things being unfair and they don't know that life is unfair. They do know that life is unfair, but they do try to think what is the best world in which we could all exist, where there didn't have to be suffering or unneeded suffering given to people. This is the kind of things they struggle with. And yes, they do have to take into account that the world is just unfair and that it may not be the most possible thing to render the playing field even and of without taking into account the fact that these same let's say unfair measures or unfair factors won't arise in another way. That is to say, it may be the fact that inequality is actually a factor within life that continues to show itself. And yes, we must maybe keep on trying to make things better for everybody, but it might be the fact that they must accept that the natural state of things, as far as we know, is one of inequality. And it may be possible to move towards a state where the highest amount of suffering were to say not being able to have the newest iPhone. And if that were the state of suffering which we were in, it would be much better than to say being in a state where people were dying and no one really cared about their lives. So there's a higher order inequality that could exist that I think many people would agree with, including the NF temperaments, and they should. Of course, I can't say if there were ever to be such a world where not having an iPhone was the worst thing that could happen to someone, and if there'd be some radical feelers coming out and saying, well, that person has to have an iPhone too, if you see what I'm saying. So yeah, that may be a possible world in the future as well. But as far as now, what a lot of NFs do fight for is a sort of more equal starting point and to have kind of the basics of life. Have your food, have security, um, you know, just the basic things of life. Not really begging for everyone to suddenly become superior. Just for everyone to kind of um, have it to an extent in life where they can survive. And of course, thrive is the ultimate goal that everyone wants to do. But if you can't survive, then you cannot thrive. So, yeah, that is my spiel on ENFPs. Very wonderful people, and I will be ending my video here. The Irrational Skeptic signing off.